Hey everyone, it's Bennett, your fantasy football commissioner, with the Week 3 weekly recap in the ForrestLand MishMash Fantasy Football League. And as you can see from our scores here, the scoring has definitely stabilized. I know Week 1 was very, very low scoring, and Week 2 stabilized a little bit. But this week, pretty consistent. We had several people above 150, and whether it's just the lack of preseason and teams starting to finally get it together, whether it's some kind of reaction to the whole Trump thing, which I'm not going to get into the politics, but definitely the only thing I'll say there is it definitely seemed like some of the more emotional teams like the Steelers and the Seahawks didn't play as well, and that may have been something to do with the controversy. Other than that, I'm not going to get into that, but for whatever reason, the games were awesome. It was one of the best slate of early games, and we had some fantasy football scoring in the high numbers. So let's take a look. We had one game. This is the comeback game you always dream of when you're down by 30-ish points going into the Monday night game and you've got one guy playing. So you have the Somerset Stallions beating the Travelers 174-172, and the aforementioned Larry Fitzgerald with 34 points. So needed 33 for the win, got 34. He was the top player on the team, and had 13 catches for $149 and a touchdown. So obviously you'll take that any week, but when you're down by 33 points or whatever, 32 points, and you're going to the Monday night game, that's pretty cool, and that doesn't happen very often. So they get the win. As you could see, double digits for everyone except Terrell Pryor, who was really high in the preseason. Just hasn't gelled, and I think he's available on the free agent block now if you're interested in taking a flyer on him. But he's the only starter that was in single digits, and of course the Ravens went over to London and laid an egg. Maybe the Jaguars are just used to being over there, and the routine thing might have gotten the Ravens, or maybe they're the emotional team that didn't play well. Whatever the reason is, they got clobbered. But the Stallions found a way to win in spite of getting -3 from the defense. And the Travelers, great points, obviously very consistent as well. Only a couple single-digit digit scores, and the numbers just didn't quite add up. There's no real reason or anything they could have done differently. So they go to Stallions go to 3-0, and mind you, without Andrew Luck, who is still out for the season. So with Deshaun Kaiser and Carson Wentz starting, the Stallions are 3-0, and the Travelers, tough luck losers, they fall to 1-2. Another high-scoring game was third and Oolong, who continues to rack up points, especially with the two Kansas City Chief players. Kareem Hunt is obviously Rookie of the Year candidate and maybe even Fantasy Player of the Year candidate. So he's just continues to be a monster every week. He's gotten, 27, 28, and 47 points in the first 3 weeks. That's pretty good. Antonio Brown's the one Steeler on offense that's doing really good. As you can see, he's had 2 out of 3 awesome weeks. And then Tyreek Hill continues to do well. So third and Oolong, racking up the points. A little bit funny that Mike Gillisley, I really thought he was going to be great. The way he emerged in the first game, and hasn't done too much since then, but it's tough to tell with the Patriots. But so a little disappointing there, but otherwise just a ton of points everywhere for third and Oolong. And even with Todd Gurley being amazing on Thursday night, he's going to be awesome, along with Ezekiel Elliott, who I guess is not even going to be suspended after all that. So great pick for the Cartel. And then, of course, Odell Beckham comes in, scores 28 points. So pretty good on those players, but just not enough to get the win. Ran into a buzzsaw third and long. And the Cartel are 1-2, and third and Oolong 2-1. We also have the Colon Cleansers, respectable 160 points over Show Me Your TDs. James Leftbein, he goes to 1-2, and the Colon Cleansers are 2-1. So all the records are still going to be pretty close this early in the year. The Colon Cleansers doing well with pretty consistent quarterback play up top. Fournette's been great. Hasn't had a blowout blow up game yet, but he's been consistent, and it's probably only a matter of time before Fournette really gets a lot of fantasy points. The Cincinnati offense finally woke up. They get A.J. Green got a couple touchdowns, I believe, or at least one. And, of course, Stephon Diggs with just a monster day. And he's had a couple. As you can see, he's had 4 touchdowns on the year, 1 week showing against Pittsburgh. But he's been a pretty good player. And, I think it's Case Keenum, I believe, is the quarterback. So even with Case Keenum in there, Stephon gets 8 catches for 173 yards. So that's great. Only 1 point from Travis Kelce, but yet still didn't need it. 160 points. Show me your TD struggles. Of course, Jay Cutler just laying an egg up against the Jets. And what's going on with the quarterbacks here? Of course, David Johnson getting injured, but sorry to say, but Show Me Your TDs is not really well stacked in the quarterback department, which might be a reason why they only scored 133 points, because you had negative for Flacco, so that was obviously a good move. But Cutler and McCown, it's going to be tough sledding from the quarterback position for Show Me Your TDs this year. So only 133 points, and they fall to 1-2. Oops. We have this year's version of not a lot of points, but just always playing the right team so far in Ray Finkel. They go to 3-0. Not scoring a ton of points, but again, beating the team that they're playing each week, and that's all that matters. Kirk Cousins had a bust-out game with 31 points. So he's looking like he's actually going to be solid, and maybe the opening game against the Eagles was just a blip. And, not a ton of points, but Dalvin Cook, the rookie running back for Minnesota, continues to be good. He's had points every week. Or 2 out of the 3 weeks has had really good points, and just an exciting player. So Dalvin Cook's probably going to be pretty solid all year. I know Kelvin Benjamin got hurt. Julio Jones is, he's going to get his points as the year goes on. So, pretty consistent. Another negative point for the defense. So a lot of negative defense points this week. But didn't hurt Ray Finkel. He gets 144 points and wins. And the Riot, even with Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson combo, getting, 51 points, not much else. Marshawn Lynch has been up and down. He had that, a lot of yards the first week, no touchdowns. Last week he had some tough yards, but just not a lot of snaps. So Marshawn Lynch, I just don't think he's going to be a 20 carry back this year. So it might be sink or swim every week with Lynch. But even with the Jordy Nelson combo, just not enough points. Crabtree, I can speak for my team with Derek Carr doing terrible, that obviously Crabtree didn't do good either, so that didn't help. And just not a lot of points other than Rodgers and Nelson. So the Riot fall to 1-2, and again, Ray Finkel 3-0, leading the division. And finally, we have the battle of the 0-2 teams, which the scoring indicates that these might be some of the worst teams. The Slim Aussies somehow squeak it out. So while the Somerset Stallions are thrilled that Larry Fitzgerald's getting 13 catches for 149 yards on Monday night, meanwhile, the wife in the room is probably glaring the whole game because J.J. Nelson had 0 points. And he was coming off a really good day the week before. 5 catches, 120 yards. John Brown, the other receiver for the Cardinals, is down. So you got to think J.J. Nelson should still do pretty well. Yet not a single point. And I'm happy to say that Sarah beat me was higher on the waiver wire. Otherwise, I probably would have had 0 from J.J. Nelson myself. So sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good. And in spite of Tom Brady's 5 touchdowns and Chris Hogan got a couple, or at least 1 touchdown from Brady, that was canceled out somewhat by Brandon Cooks finally doing something for the Slim Aussies. And then DeMarco Murray had a big run to make a mediocre day into a great day. And in spite of Derek Carr doing nothing on Sunday night, Amari Cooper, obviously for Graceland, didn't do anything either, so that canceled out. And the Slim Aussies do just enough. Again, J.J. Nelson getting 0. All he needed was, 14, 15 points. And meanwhile, Des Bryant, who probably should have been starting anyway, at least from reputation alone, he only got 9 points, so he wouldn't have been enough to overcome it either. So Graceland, 124 points, not going to get it done. The Slim Aussies will take it, only 138 points, but they get the win to move to 1-2. And let's take a look at the standings again early on. So the only thing I'm going to point out is just the scoring. So you have in the Mish division, 476 points for the Stallions, and he's second overall in points, so perfectly legitimate 3-0 record. On the flip side, you have Ray Finkel's Kicking Academy with only 391 points, which is, what, third lowest, fourth lowest, so right in the middle, but yet he's 3-1. Or excuse me, 3-0. So Ray Finkel not scoring a ton of points, but getting the benefit of low scoring against him. And otherwise, you have third and Oolong with easily the most points, and one tough luck loss, and the Stallions again with 476 points. And bringing up the rear, Slim Aussies, although Slim Aussies do have a win against Graceland, which I mentioned a minute ago. So the two lowest scoring teams are sort of at the bottom, but when they play each other, somebody's got to win. So, again, early in the season, everyone's sort of just bunched up in the middle, too early to have any real separation. But, you better start playing well or the season's going to get out of hand quickly. So that's it for today. Good luck this weekend. Hope everyone has a great week. Don't forget to get your waiver wire pickups, check the injury reports, and, of course, the Thursday night game. Get your starters in. And everybody have a great week. Good luck in week 4.